guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Rose. So I know it's been a little while since I've been here. If you've been on Facebook or anything, you may have seen that I have been struggling a little bit with overwhelm, anxiety, depression, that kind of thing. But I am feeling better now. Not back 100% quite yet, but definitely better. So today I am doing a video that part of it is something that I actually wanted to do. I wanted to release on the 1st of January, but I didn't get to do that, so I'm going to talk to you about that today. And also I am doing a tutorial for you guys on what are they called? An infinity tag. It's something that I came across on Louisa Heinzel's channel. I had seen them before when I was making cards and things like that, but Louisa did one a couple of months ago and I wanted to try it, so I did it for the January collaboration over on Instagram, and I had lots of people asking for a tutorial, so I'm going to do that today also. So the first order of business is this little announcement. So if you are familiar with my Etsy shop, you may have seen these on there. They are star sign journals, and they're all printed with images and quotes, and there's lots of journaling space and things like that in them. I spent a long time actually developing the prints for these, but I have decided that the way I was doing the covers isn't really working for me. So I am working on developing a new cover for these and possibly updating the graphics and things like that. So what I'm going to do with the stock of the ones that I have, now these are the only ones that are actually, these two are the only ones that are actually in the Etsy shop. I also have these ones, which I made when I was in the development process. So these are more kind of junky. They have odd papers and things like that in them. They have fold outs, all that sort of stuff. Look at that, isn't that awesome? That page, fabulous. So what I'm doing with these, because I want to develop a new way of binding and things like that with them, I have decided that every month on my YouTube channel I will do a draw of all the people who have commented on my videos that month, and they will win the star sign of the month. So all you need to do to be in the running to get one of these is to comment on my videos, and for each comment, for each video you comment on, having an avalanche here again, for each video you comment on, you will have an entry into the draw. So that is very exciting, and this is the first video that you can comment on to win the Capricorn one this month. So that is that. Now, on the off chance that I don't have the star sign for the month, I will come up with something else to do a draw for. I think I have all of them. I haven't actually checked. Okay, so that is that. All very exciting. I absolutely do actually love these books. They have the little charms on them and all the rest of that, and but they're just not working for me for what I want to do with them in my Etsy shop. So yeah, but I do love them. Aren't they awesome? So anyway, that is that. Enough fiddling with the books, Rose. Okay. Now, so on to our infinity tags. So here is the one that I showed you guys on Instagram, if you have seen that. If you haven't seen it, pop over to Instagram and follow the hashtag Hope and Joy 2022 for a dose of hope and joy every single day for the month of January. It is an awesome collaboration, and I have to say it really has helped pull me out of my funk. And I'm so thankful to Rachel for organising it, and just for, for Rachel being Rachel, to be perfectly honest, because she has actually helped pull me through this. I haven't actually told Rachel that yet, but Rachel, you really did. Just those little chit chats we were having made a huge difference to me, and I just want you to know that you are a very special person, and thank you so much. So here is our infinity tag. So it goes like this, and then it goes back like this, and there's our hope and joy here. I left this for journaling space. And then it folds around like this. This is the back of the tag, and then it flips back to the front. So I think they're really cool, and I wanted to do this for the Hope and Joy collaboration, because moving parts always give me such joy. They really do. They're one of the most joyful things I think that we can put into our journals. That's me, that's my opinion. You don't necessarily have to agree, but we're going to make one of these today. In fact, I'm actually making two, but we're going to make at least one on camera. So I have my papers cut out. Now there are a couple of things that I wanted to say to you guys about this. So the first thing is the proportions. Okay, so it has to be, whatever width you have, it has to be double the height. Okay, that's just how it works. So if you have 3 inches across, you need it 6 inches tall. If you have 4 inches across, like I have here, you need it to be 8 inches tall, etc., etc. So we need 2 pieces, cut the same size. This may change very slightly. The sizing of one of them may change very slightly as we progress, but we will talk about that when we get to it. At the beginning, you need them to be exactly the same size, and for some of the things in this, precision really does matter. So just putting that one out there. So I have prepped up my paper. I have inked and distressed and all the rest of that. I had a bit of a boo-boo with this one. I kind of messed up the paper a little bit. If you can see, there are lines coming through here, and it was just how I was dyeing them. I did that with my fingernails, and it just made these lines on it. Not pretty, but I'm still going to use it, because when it's finished, I think the actual movement will take away from that. So now on to the technical part, guys. Ooh. So we have our 2 pieces. These are actually the same size, but they're not looking the same size right now. Huh. Okay, I'm just going to have to check my measurements there, guys. Sorry about this. I cut these at the same time, so they should be exactly the same. But they're really not. How in the world did I do that? Now, of course, when you wet your paper, it does kind of change. I mean, it can stretch and it can shrink and all the rest of that when it's wet. That one is close enough. Let's see about this one. I mean, these 2 pieces are the same paper, 8x8 paper, and they are really not coming up as 4 inches each. I didn't cut anything off of them. This is very strange. Anyway, we'll try to get on as much as possible. This is a better fit, definitely. Okay, so we'll do that. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, we need to slice these pieces. Now, this is the front, this is the back. So I'm just going to lay them, we can lay them both front up. So the front of it, I'm splitting down the centre, long ways, and the back of it, I'm splitting crossways across the middle. Okay, so I am going to get my trusty cutting board and my knife. Now, instead of measuring, because measuring can go wrong, and this does need to be fairly precise, I am going to just double it like this and use that mark as my guide for where to cut. Okay, I'm going to use my mat, the grid on my mat, to get this in place and cut nicely. Trying to make sure I have it all squared. There we go. I'm going to slice down the center. Okay, so that's what we have now. That's that's the first one. Put that aside, and the second piece we are cutting in half this way. So again, I'm going to get my mark by folding this in half. Now I know these edges are straight because I use an 8x8 piece, so I'm fairly happy to do that. Ooh. Oh, one other thing that I did actually mean to say to you guys, I'm sorry, I should have said this at the start. When you're choosing your papers, you need to obviously be aware that you are going to be splitting them. So if you have like a person on the front of it, you really don't want to be cutting down through the eye of the person or an animal or whatever like that. So just be aware of where you're going to be cutting it and make sure that it looks okay when it is split. Like flowers, generally speaking, would be okay. I wouldn't go down the very center of a flower. Maybe this one I would. But just be aware of where you're going to be cutting it. So for that one, that's the only thing you need to know. But for this one, you do again need to be aware of where you're cutting it. But you also need to be aware that the back of the card will appear upside down at this point. So I used a pattern here that, while it does look upside down, if you really look at it, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, okay? But if there was writing or something on this, or if there was an image of an actual object like a person or an animal or a butterfly, it will be upside down at this stage of the fold, okay? Just to be aware of what you're putting on the back as well, okay? This one, it kind of had a bit of collage-y type thing to it, so there's stuff going every direction. It didn't really matter. So let's get on with the cutting. All right. I think we're done with that. We're going to need our ruler again. Now I'm just going to ink the edges of those cuts very quickly. I have all the rest of the inking done, as you can see. Now I will say also, guys, that when you're doing this, if it doesn't turn out right the first time, just try it again. My first one turned out absolutely perfect, but I decided to take it apart because I didn't like the papers that I used. And then I did a second one and it really didn't turn out right. I can actually show you that second one that I made and how badly it turned out. So it looks beautiful, very pretty, and all the rest of it, and it looks good to that point. Then I have a big huge gap in here. See that? So yeah, it can go wrong, but just keep at it, you will get it. And if you kind of take heed of what I'm saying about the precision, and it has to be exactly in half, you should be fine. Okay, so we need a little bit of ink on these edges. Not too much, because I have all of the inking and stuff done around the rest of it, so we just need a tiny bit. There we go. That is that. Now the next thing we need are score lines, okay? So I'm just making sure I have these all in the right order. That needs to put that way. There, that's right. So I have here a scoring tool. I prefer to use this for this particular project because it gives me a narrower score line. You use whatever scoring system works best for you. You can use just a ruler and a butter knife if that's all you have. If you are doing it that way, I would lay it on like a pad of paper or something just to give you some little bit of give underneath. Don't use a very hard surface. Okay, so any scoring that works for you. Now, how to figure out where to score. Now, I know that I have a 4x8 piece, so each of these is 2x8. So what we need to do is we are scoring again on the long side. If we cut it on the long side, we're scoring on the long side. The same with the other ones. If you cut it on the short side, you're scoring on the short side. Okay, so I need to score exactly halfways on the smaller piece. So that would be 1 inch if my measurements were correct, which I don't believe they are. So I'm going to do it the other way again by folding. And the same on these ones, we are going to be scoring exactly halfways down, which will be 2 inches. Okay. So I'm going to get my fold mark here. Make sure I have that in situ. I'm going to line it up. Make sure I have it straight. And score. Okay, now I'm going to fold this just to make sure that it is okay. And one thing I will say to you guys, when you are doing your inking and things like that, don't ink these score lines because it looks absolutely terrible. That was actually one of the things I did with the first one, which made me decide to take it apart again. I inked all of these score lines and it looked terrible. So do not ink these score lines, okay? Well, you can if you, I mean, okay, maybe you would like your score lines inked. And it's totally fine, but just, it doesn't always look great, okay? And I will say, actually, do not use heavy cardstock for this either. You can, it just makes it a little more difficult to get the folds and things correct. And to get it moving. But this is quite a lot. I would say this is paper as opposed to cardstock. It's bordering on very light cardstock. The other one that I made, this one, was slightly heavier than this cardstock that I'm using today. So that is slightly heavier, and this was actually made of the same stuff. So I wouldn't actually go any heavier than this stuff that I have here, personally. But it's up to you. Okay, so we are doing halfways on this way. Now, I actually tried also as well, I tried decorating before finishing the actual construction, and it doesn't work very well. So I would recommend actually doing the whole construction first and then decorating afterwards, which is what I'm going to be doing right now. So there we have our next score. That's okay. And the next one. I'm just going to make sure I have these right again. Yep. I hope everyone had a fantastic Christmas and a lovely rest, and that your new year started off with a bang, or at least on the right foot and the way you want it to be going. Pretty good. I have a kitty cat crying outside the door to come into his mama as usual. And he's just going to have to wait. He has taken now to demanding my attention when I am in my craft room. He will come and stand on my desk and put his face in my face and not allow me to do anything. So he is locked out at the moment, the poor baby. Okay. So there we have all our scores. Now, I'm going to turn this one so that the inside of it is facing up, and this is how our tag is going to be constructed. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is gluing. I'm actually going to do this the other way around. I find it easier to do this, so I have the back of the tag facing towards me, and like so. So I'm going to mark these one piece at a time. And all I'm doing here, I'm lining this up. So what I'm doing, I have this edge lined up to my score line, and I'm taking a line from the score line on this piece, and I'm just extending that with my pencil across the front piece, like so. Okay, and I'm going to do that for every corner. To line them up. Ooh. Take my score line and bring that across. I'm only penciling very, very lightly. This can be erased afterwards. Here we have the other side. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Just extending my line across here. So I'm just using the score line on this to determine where I'm putting the mark on this one. Okay, doing the very same thing at the top. Line it right up to that corner there and take my score line across. Okay, so these 4 squares, this is where we are going to be gluing, and we cannot glue outside of these rectangles, sorry, these rectangles here. These are the only places that we are gluing, and it won't work if your glue seeps out, so be careful with your glue. So I am going to get glue down on this one. And on this one. Now I'm doing the 2 of these together for a reason. I will show you that very shortly. Just a little tiny bit of glue there. We don't want that. And while I'm being careful that the glue isn't going over the edge, I'm also being careful that I am bringing it right to the edge. That's not as big a deal, but it does make it work a little bit neater. Okay, so which is the top and which is the bottom? This is the top. Do I have them the right way up? I do. Always check that they're the right way up. Now, when we are putting this down, we want to line these up, but we want to leave a teeny tiny gap in between. And that's the reason why I'm doing the 2 of them together, because I need to make sure that that gap is there. And I also want to make sure that it stays there. We're lining this up with the corners. We're going corner to corner here. And it needs to be quite precisely lined up. Turn it over and use a glue that will give you a little bit of leeway, at least a little bit of leeway. Now I have a little bit of a gap there. I'm okay with that. We can trim that. This needs lining up, I think, a little better. Yeah. Okay. They need to be straight. Overhang is fine as long as they are straight. We can trim the overhang. Okay, so like I said, I'm trying to make sure that these pieces aren't catching on each other. So I'm leaving a teeny tiny gap in between those. And that is why I get that tiny little overhang here at the back, okay? So, that's those in place. And let's get the last one in place. So, we are putting our glue on our rectangles. And we'll do the 2 of these together again. And we're lining up our piece to the corners. Now again, we want to make sure that this doesn't catch. Now you can see there that that's catching, so I'm just going to pull it down a little, just so that there's enough of a gap that that's not catching on each other. And then I'm going to line it all up nicely together. I think that looks okay. So I'm trying to make sure that this edge lines up here. Do you remember where we had the overhang on this side? Tiny little overhang. I'm just making sure that these 2 pieces line up together, that I can slice that overhang off. Okay, that looks pretty good. So you can see where precision comes into this. It does need to be fairly precise. Okay, now I'm going to leave that dry for a few minutes and I will be back to you guys when it is. Okay, you guys, so now comes the fun part. So this is, when it's dry enough for me to work with, I would recommend leaving it until it's perfectly dry. Simply because you could mess up the mechanism at this point, and after doing all this work you really don't want to do that. So our next stage, I'm just going to fold these back to show you where I'm going here. Okay, so the next piece is we need to get it to fold back. So what we're going to do is we are going to take our creases here and we are going to try and fold exactly on that crease so that we are folding a straight line back here. Okay, like so. I'll show you that again on the other side. So this is our piece that we have flapped back here with our score line that we have previously done. I'm just going to pick it up by this piece and I'm folding that back. Okay, do you see what I'm doing there? Just folding that back. I'm just going to turn it over. Now I can see that we have a little bit of overlap here, so I'm going to just try and take it out a tiny bit away from that. Actually, do you know what? We're going to leave it. I'm just going to fold it and I'm actually going to trim the sides, which we actually forgot to do. We have this tiny bit here to trim. Silly me. So any overhang that you have, you need to get that trimmed off, whether it's on the sides, the top or the bottom. And I would recommend doing it before trying to fold it. Okay, that's that piece. Let's see how we do here now. See, much better there. It's not catching on each other there now. Okay, so that is the first fold. I don't think we have any overhangs to cut off here. Doesn't look like it right now anyway. So that's the middle of it. And the next piece, we are folding these back. Okay, so we're catching it here and folding the whole thing back like so. Okay, so we're just bending it back and I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to fold it where it naturally folds with that score line that we have in there. Now I am trying to match up my lines here with the score line on this piece. There is a slight discrepancy, but just make it as even as you can. Just going to burnish in those creases there. I'm going to take it and do the very same thing on the other side. We're folding it back, turn it over and fold it with those score lines. A little bit more of a gap there than I want, but it's actually not too bad, so we'll just work with that. Okay, so we're at this point, so this is where we've started. Okay, oh, wave it upside down. So this is the front. We have folded them back and like so, like this, and then we have folded these ones and put in our creases, and from there open it out like this and voila, we're back to the start. Now we do have still have a little bit of catching there. I'm just going to do that again, see what's going on there. It doesn't seem to be, I thought it was catching, but maybe it's not. No. But the point is, if it's catching somewhere, you can always trim it a little. I mean, you can take just the tiniest sliver off and it's not going to make that much of a difference. It will make a huge difference if you have something like a person on the front and you're taking a slice out of them. But with a pattern like this, it really doesn't matter. But we are good to go. So the next part is decorating. Now, while I was waiting for that one to dry as well, actually, I should say to you that I got this one made up. Now, I did manage to tear my paper here, which is unfortunate. There we have that. It folds back, and we have that. Again, there does seem to be a little bit of catch there somewhere. Just here. Just adjust that fold a tiny bit. Let's see if that makes a difference. Yeah, it seems to be working over there. Okay, there. This bit is catching under here. I don't know. It seems to be okay anyway. Okay, so the next thing is to decorate. Now you can leave them as this shape, okay, or you can round your corners, or you can make them into a tag shape. I do like the tag shape. I think it looks much better than just having them like this. Actually on this one I don't think it matters, but on this one, do you know what? I'm going to try it without doing the tag shape, okay, just to see. Just to experiment a little bit. So I'm going to try them just like this. Now, when you're decorating, you need to be aware of all the folding parts. So you need to be aware of where the pieces are going to fold and what you're putting on top of them. Okay, so for instance, you can put something down here, no problem, but if it's too stiff or too hard, it is going to get caught up at this stage here where we're folding that. Okay, so just be aware of what you're putting on it. I am using all paper and light kind of things. On this one, this little girl here, this fairy girl, very stiff plastic and very stiff card, and it makes it very difficult to bend and work the piece. So down here it's getting very caught. And this piece as well, I backed the sentiment onto card, actually 2 lots of card, and it is creating quite a lot of bulk in that crease. So just to be aware of that, okay? So I'm tending to keep the decor on them very, very light and very sparse even. So I think all I really want are my sentiments. I have 2 sentiments ready to go here. I have There's Always a Springtime and Look on the Sunny Side. And I think I'm going to do it this way. So Look on the Sunny Side here. Now of course the place where I actually want to place it is right on that crease, and that's not going to work. So I'm going to either take it above or below. I quite like it below, but then I need something else. Okay, but I am going to stick that down. Now, another thing to be aware of when you are decorating is that when you put something on the openings, they're going to have to be split. So like I was saying, if you had a pattern on here, be careful where you're splitting it. The same thing applies when you're putting on your decor. Now, I know that I want to put this here somewhere, and all I'm going to do, I'm going to try and split it in between the letters so that I'm not cutting right down the middle of a letter, because that would look strange. So I'm going to take it down between those 2 ends there, and I'm going to try to make that cut as straight as possible. Of course my edges aren't straight, so I can't use my T ruler. But we'll just have to kind of make the best of it that we can. Okay, so we have this. I'm actually going to do the second one as well while I have it out. Just make sure I know where I want to put this. Yeah, so just after that A. And when we have those in place, it'll still look pretty good. Okay. I tried with the idea of layering a little bit more on these, but I don't think it's necessary. The movement is kind of enough. I don't think that there's a whole lot of decor needed on these. Okay, we'll get these glued down. Okay, so that is those. Now, I actually quite like those as they are, but this one may need an actual a focal point is the word I'm looking for. I do have these two butterflies here that I had out from yesterday. I don't think that's what I want. That could work there. Let's try. Let's get this one cut out. The other one is fine because it has the flowers, I think. Yeah, so I like that. I actually do like it. Does it need something else as well though? What do I have? I have taken out a few pieces here, but I don't know that I have anything that I actually want to use. I need to get this inked. Oh! I need to get this inked up before I do anything else because I can't envision it otherwise. Just a little tiny bit of inking on this just to take that real white off of it, and it makes it so much more cohesive. Now again, I'm looking at the positioning of this butterfly. I will be positioning him so that I will be cutting through a wing but not any part of the antenna or the body or anything like that. So he will have to be fairly upright. I could possibly get away with that antenna being cut. Possibly. We'll see. Now, as to putting something else there, I really don't know, guys. This has looked about the best to me. And I like that it is a vellum sticker. Yeah, I think we'll go for that. Okay. Gonna give it a little ink first. And you know what? If it doesn't look good, it doesn't look good. We'll get over it. But I think it'll be fine. Little bit of ink. See, we want this around here, so I'm going to put this around here, and I am going to take it just over the edge. And yes, I know I'm shutting my little piece closed, but that's okay. I'll sort that out in a second. And do I want to bring it across here? No. Okay, so I'm going to trim off this bit. And I'm going to burnish this down quite well now. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to slip my scissors in there between those two pieces, and I'm going to snip up the center. Just be careful doing this. There we go. Now I'm going to flip these to the side, just see if there's anything overhanging, and I'm just going to trim that off. It's only just the tiniest piece, and same on the other side. Oops, trimmed a little bit too much there, but anyway. But that's how that looks now. I'm liking that. Do I still want the butterfly? Yeah, why not? Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with the butterfly. I'm going to stick it down and then I'm going to slice up the middle. Okay, so I am ready to cut up middle of this butterfly very carefully. When you're actually splitting these, guys, just to say, make sure you have your fingers inside these flaps at the back, because you will end up cutting your pieces here otherwise. Ask me how I know. So very carefully splitting this up the center. There we go. That is that. Now, one thing we need to be aware of is this piece here is going across this crease here, so we need to make sure that that is creased nicely, and the same on the other side. Before we try to fold it again, okay? I do have some little pieces to trim here. Just scooch. And the pieces you're taking off here are so tiny that most of the time it won't make a difference. There we go. Looks pretty good. And we are good to go. And there we have it. Okay, so I have decided that I don't want to decorate anything on the inside here. I think the stenciling that I've done on the inside is enough. But one point that Louisa actually made in her video, and it is, excuse me, it is a good point. I need to repair this as well. Is that when you are decorating this, be aware that these pieces here on the side are still visible when you fold it back like this. So maybe it'd be a better idea to decorate these pieces first and then decorate these pieces. And just be aware that, like, if you're putting, again, objects on this, that it doesn't kind of show half a person. Let's say if I put these little girls here and that's what's showing when we have this side, it just looks a bit strange. So just be aware of things like that as well. Okay, I am going to repair this piece with just some washi tape, or I might put a panel of paper over it and we'll see. But that is that one, and here is the other one. Now I have decided to make a tag from this one. I'm going to cut the corner here and bring it across and cut the other one. I think that was just a good solution for it. It just looked too bare up there and I didn't want to put another object up there. It didn't look right. So, oh yeah, I forgot to fold my bits here. I actually didn't mean to put this on the crease, but I ended up putting it on the crease, which is catching now, so I need to carefully fold this, and let's see how we get on there. It may not be folded correctly, we'll see. Okay, so I'm going to fold it back over again and just make sure that I have it all lined up nicely. Put my creases back in. There we have it. Okay, that should work fine. Yeah, oh, catching a little bit, just a tiny bit. And this piece needs another little bit of gluing. So just be very aware of that, guys, when you're putting something down. Make sure it's not going on the crease. Don't know how I managed that, because I had told myself that I wasn't putting it on the crease. But anyway, no big deal. Get these inked. And that is that. So, there's my two pieces for today's make. And I hope I've explained it well enough for you. Do go and check. Okay guys, sorry about that. The most inopportune moment. Okay, so yeah, what I was saying was make sure you do go and check out Louisa's video as well. I will link that below. I hope I explained it well enough for you guys. And I hope you have fun with these. They're really, really just so much fun to play with. I do love them. I love moving pieces in my journals anyway. So, yeah. There we have it. Okay, guys. I will talk to you all very, very soon. That's it from me. Bye.